Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Speak Sense podcast with me, Osama Musa, Muslim Amir. And today, guys, on our first episode, I've decided to bring on a very special guest. We have our dear brother from Canada, Abdurrahman Muni. Woo!
Woo!
Love it, bro. So just a little bit about you. I'll obviously introduce you as the Abdurrahman Muni helps people with their careers. He's a career coach, and he's also got a lot of business expertise. So if you're somebody who needs business help and business consulting as well, Abdurrahman Muni is your guy. So, bro, let's begin. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's always a question, you know. That's always a question where it's like, how do you start? What do you say? But no, honestly, the story is very interesting for me, right? It's was born out of Libya, so North Africa. I was born in Libya, came to Canada when I was a year old. My dad came here to do his master's degree. I think the plan for my parents was always to come back to Libya, but alhamdulillah, you know, they had more kids. They saw the education system in Canada, and they're like, you know what, we'll stay put. So alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful for that, man. So really been in Canada my entire life. It's funny, my siblings. So I was the only one born in Libya. All my siblings were born in Canada. And because I was only there for a year, my siblings call me a fake immigrant, but I wear my immigrant badge proudly. And is it the same for you?
Yes, I'm the oldest as well. So I'm born outside of the UK. I'm actually born in Pakistan, even though I have a Palestinian background, which is quite a tongue twister for people that don't know the difference between Pakistan and Palestine. But yeah, and I get the same thing from my brothers and sisters.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Like, you're not from here, right? So my childhood was fairly normal. I wouldn't say it was nothing out of the ordinary, right? It just I was a normal kid. If I was to tie anything back to the entrepreneurial journey back then, you know, just the whole stereotypical, did the paper route for a few years, saved up money. So really started to learn the mechanics of business there, but honestly, nothing too crazy. Alhamdulillah, had a very good upbringing. You know, parents took care of me, had good friends and family and school and health and all the blessings one could ask for. Where things really started to change was in university. So went to the University of Waterloo, where I studied psychology and business, and it was in my first semester. Right, because so take this in, right? Like, a lot of people when they go into their first year, like, you know what? Let me just feel things out, right? Let me just take it a step at a time. It's a new environment for me. I'm like, let's just go. If we're here, we're gonna go all the way.
Yeah.
All right. So after my first semester, that's where I really started thinking about business. Like, one of my closest friends, you know, I remember after my first semester, it was December break, like, you know, when the rest of the country's off for the holidays. We're in a coffee shop, and I'm looking at him. I was like, man, we have to start a business. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we're going to do, but we just have to start a business, just any business. This is first year Muni, right? And subhanAllah, like within 30 days, like we got to our business idea. Like, as soon as we had that coffee shop chat, we hopped online. We started, you know, doing Google Hangouts, Skype, when people used to use Skype, and we just started researching business ideas, right? We're looking at, okay, you know, what if we sell luxury watches? Okay, no, there's too many scams here. What if you do this? And we just kept going back and forth. And then subhanAllah, ultimately we landed on what ended up being our first business, which was a digital marketing company, right? And subhanAllah, we knew nothing about marketing. Like, we're just first year kids, second year kids in university, knew nothing about marketing. We're like, listen, there's a need. Let's just learn it. So for 8 months, bro, from February 2013 to August, we just committed ourselves to learning marketing. We knew nothing. So we taught ourselves how to do website design, social media marketing, search engine optimization, online reputation management, the whole 9 yards. We taught ourselves every single service that we would offer. And then in August of 2013, we landed our first client. Alhamdulillah. So that was a big moment for us. We got our check, walked out of that meeting, we're like, woo! Like, when you make that first dollar, right, from something that you created from scratch, like, it's a completely different feeling. There's no feeling from when it comes to making a living, there's no feeling that's better than that, right? When you work for a job, you know the paycheck's coming, but when you're building something, not sure if it's gonna be successful, and then you get paid for it, that's incredible, right? And I know you know how that feels. So that's where it started, man. So, and then from there, you know, subhanAllah, it just started snowballing. And you know, at University of Waterloo, it's known as a tech startup hub, right? There, a lot of amazing companies came out of there. I'm sure you've heard of BlackBerry. That's probably one of the most famous success stories that came out of the University of Waterloo. And then BlackBerry really started and created that tech scene in Waterloo. Before that, when you say Waterloo, Canada, people are like, "Where is that?" Right? Is that a province? Is that a country? What is it? Yeah. So, but BlackBerry came on the map, and then everybody started knowing about Waterloo. And again, I don't want to delay the intro too much, but from there, that's where things started snowballing, and I really got invested in the tech scene there, right? And for me, I didn't go to university for the academia, right? I didn't know why I went to university. Part of it was let's get this done, right? There's this expectation on that, but for me, I'm like, listen, I'm here anyways. I'm paying the bills anyways. Let me milk it, right? So I wasn't really there for the academia, although I did learn a lot, but I forgot 99% of it. I really focused on the network. The network was the big thing for me because very early on, I learned that your network is your net worth. And that's what I really focused on. I just started meeting people all over through the Muslim Student Association, through other clubs, through the startup scene on campus, professors, classes, everything. I just met so many people. And I just kept playing with startups. That's all I kept doing through university. And no matter what time period I was in, I always had a startup going on at any given point in time, right? Because from that digital marketing agency, we moved on to start our own tech company, which was developed around creating recruitment software to help companies make better and smarter hiring decisions. And we dabbled, right? Like that one was the one we ran with for the most. We did well for the time that we had, and then I made an exit to I had some personal things going on in life that needed my attention, so I had to make the tough decision to move on. And then I started working for some other companies. So I'm like, listen, if I'm not working on my startup, I'm going to work for another startup. So all my actual work experiences, I've been working within a entrepreneurial capacity within companies, right? So whether as a business strategist, as an integrator, really for me, I was like, listen, if I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I can't work a regular job. And then I joined one of the, SubhanAllah, this is interesting. So that recruiting software company I told you about, one of our clients is one of the fastest growing tech companies in Canada called Applyboard, or they were one of our clients. And SubhanAllah, they were our clients for a short period of time. They grew too fast. They moved on. But then after I left my startup, the CEO of Applyboard reaches out to me, and he's like, Muni, what's going on? I see you left your startup. Everything good? I'm like, hey man, life happens. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you come down? And SubhanAllah, I left my startup. I had gotten a job, and the CEO had reached out to me. And I'm 2 weeks into that job, and the CEO, he invites me over to the office. He's like, listen, I want you to come work with us. He's like, I'd really like to have you on the team. I'm like, man, I was like, I just got this job. It's 2 weeks in. Can I work 2 full-time jobs? He's like, you got to pick one. He's like, you can't have both. And I'm like, SubhanAllah. And I was engaged then to be married soon at that time, right? This was back in 2019. SubhanAllah, I call up my fiance, and because that job was a big deal for us, because now we had the financial means to get married, right? So for me to call my fiance at the time, like, yo, I'm quitting my job and I'm getting another one. I was like, what? You've been there for 2 weeks. But SubhanAllah, like I did istikhara, and the heart knows what it wants, right? And you get guided to what's the best path there. And I took the jump. Honestly, man, just took the jump and went for it. And it was honestly the best decision I could have made. Had I stayed at the other company, my career would not be where it is now, and I would not know the people that I know now. And I went this way, joined the Applyboard, joined as a business strategist, had an amazing time, and ended up, a year in leading the recruiting team, and helped scale the company from 300 employees to 1,000 employees worldwide. Mm-hmm. And then I got into, and then from there, just my career continued to grow, right? From there, I moved on, went on to the next venture. I was in real estate for a short period of time, as you might have known. And now I'm here. Alhamdulillah.
Bro, mashallah. That is such a cool story, bro. I love it. So many things to take out of there. And I remember when I was at uni, actually, so I'm similar to you, but when I was younger, I knew I was always going to be an entrepreneur. I was selling sweets and stuff from school, and then up to 16, and I started many different little businesses here and there that never really took off. But I remember when I come to uni, one of the things that you said, which I didn't do, which I now looking back wish I'd done, was growing my network. So I went to university a little bit later than usual because I wasn't planning on going to university. So I got to uni at 21. Usually people go at 18.
Wow.
So by the time I got there, I was already a manager in restaurants. I was already, you know, ahead in life, if you want to say that, compared to other people at uni. And this actually had and at the time it had a knock-on effect on my ego. You know, you're 21 years old, you're, you know, the peak of your, you know, health and looks and whatever, right? And, you know, you're making money. So a lot of people at uni, they're young students, don't really know where God's put them on this earth, let's say. And so I didn't actually think to grow my network. It was only after I graduated where, you know, I've gone into the business world properly and stuff. And I was like, wow, subhanAllah, I had so many opportunities at university to network with people that would know people, right? Because your lecturers are either business orientated or know people that are business orientated, or know they have access to people, right? They do. So I didn't make most of that. And looking back, had I utilized the university facilities, especially for the business schools, where the university I went to was top 20 for business schools in the UK. So had I utilized that facility and the facilities around me and done what you'd done, for example, only Allah knows how far I could have gone. But you know, alhamdulillah for everything. You know, experiences are, you know, what they are, and alhamdulillah I wouldn't change anything because obviously I am the man today because of that. But also I just want
100%.
Yeah, and also because, you know, you said quite a lot there, so I want to tackle a few of the things that you said. So first thing you mentioned, which is one thing I want our viewers to take note of, is just take the first step, right? You came up with the idea and you were like, "Ooh, how can we do this?" You took the first step and it took you 8 months to get your first client. Now that journey, very long process, very long journey. And like you said, you actually went into a field you had no clue about. So rather than you just trying to go get clients, you actually was like, let me research everything. Let me gain the knowledge in the areas I need to become an expert or a specialist in this field before I can acquire a client. And, you know, just tell us a little bit about that journey. Like how much, you know, was it challenging? How much did you know, at certain points want to quit? And, you know, what kind of obstacles did you have to overcome to get that first client? And was the client someone cold that didn't know anything about you? Or was it someone that you knew within your network that you were like, cool, I can definitely go and provide him a solution with my service?
So here's the thing, right? Like, I'm a huge proponent of just get started, right? Because sometimes we, as human beings, as a safety net, whether it's our brain trying to protect us, whatever it is, we over prepare, right? We plan the plan and we plan the plan again and we go back and revise it and then we get it, you know? So that 8 months wasn't to delay anything. We honestly didn't like become the top experts in what we were doing, right? But we knew more. We knew much more than the clients we were serving. This is the key thing that a lot of people need to kind of keep in mind when they're looking about, like, you know, whether it's a service-based, especially service-based businesses, right? We're like, oh man, there's people who know more. There's always going to be somebody who knows more. There's going to be an expert in every single field, right? The key is just to be 1 chapter or 2 chapters ahead of the people you're going to be serving. That's the key here, right? A lot of people think, oh my God, I have to do this for years, 20 years, sure, they'll pay you for it. You know, there's value there. So we never became experts by any means, right? We became good at what we did, but I wouldn't say we're experts. But we spent that 8 months. And the key thing here, Osama, was that you have to enjoy the building process. When it comes to building a company, it can be like, obviously you want to make money. Nobody starts a company for free, right? That doesn't exist. But at the same time, you have to enjoy the building process. And so it's like 8 months. Yeah, there's a lot of time, but we had a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. It was our first time building a business, going through the incorporation process, getting a logo, putting together a website, putting together our services, you know, doing research, learning, taking courses. It was a lot of fun, right? So that building process needs to be enjoyable. Like it's cliche, but it's not just the destination, it's the journey as well. Because what a lot of people think about is like, oh, you know what, Chell, one day I'm going to have $1 million company. One day I'm going to have a $10 million. One day I'll own $1 billion company. All right. And like, I want that right now. It's like, there's no way you can handle that right now. And people get shocked. It's like, what do you mean? It's like the journey that you take to go from where you are now to these certain milestones is the journey that actually prepares you for that. Because success is a responsibility. A lot of people don't understand that, right? Not everybody can handle success. right? And for example, if somebody has never made $100,000 on their own, there's no way they're going to be able to handle $1 million company, right? They haven't even made 100,000, right? So it's like, hey, listen, first make your first 10,000, then make 100,000, then get to 500,000, and then get to 1 million. It's like, okay, now that journey, the amount of effort and learnings and knowledge and wisdom that you gained to get to that first million now has made you ready to be able to handle a $1 million company. Now, next step is to get to 10 million, and then you get the idea, right? So that journey is important. It's not, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I hate this. I can't, it's taking too long. It's like, there's a reason. Enjoy it, right? You're in it, enjoy it, because you need this to get to where you are. So yeah, 8 months went by, and the first client we got was somebody that we knew, was a friend in our network. He had his own small business. Honestly, one of my favorite success stories. He was he repaired Apple computers, MacBooks, right? And he was doing them out of his apartment. And he came to us. He's like, guys, I really want a storefront on the main street in the city. And subhanAllah, within 3 months, with the online marketing that we did, with him, he was able to grow his practice to a point where he had enough money to open up his own storefront on one of the biggest streets in the city. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, that was one of my favorite success stories. To this day, we're always keeping in touch. But yeah, that was honestly somebody from our network. And then from there you get referrals and you build your business and you take it from there.
So that's actually why. First of all, again, loads of points to pick up on. I was going to mention it, and you actually mentioned it. It's not about the destination; it's about the journey. The destination, the end goal, is the vision to drive you there. But the development stage, the growth stage, the downers, the uppers, it's all a part of the journey, and the journey is what makes it what it is. So I'm happy you actually picked up on that yourself and said that. And you said another thing which I loved, and it's this is what's great about these podcasts as well, is that I can learn from you, and the viewers inshallah will learn from you and find the value in what you just said, which is you have to be all you have to do is just be one step ahead of the person you're serving, right? And it's you hear this in your marketing, in marketing seminars as well, is that when you're marketing something from a leadership perspective, you want to find the target audience that is where you were last year, for example, with your content.
That's right.
Reach out to those people, speak to them in their language.
That's
where you
right.
were last year, so you're just one step ahead of them. So it's really nice that you touched up on that. I also wanted to say that for everybody that wants to start a business, it's honestly somebody in your network will always buy from you, and that's why I asked the question. Because, for example, with me, any business that I've done, usually the first client was somebody within my network. Doesn't have to be a friend, but somebody I know. So when I made, my corporate events company, for example, or when I did anything, it was always, I had a corporate client from my restaurant. He needed my service, so I provided him with the service. He was my first client for my business, but I knew him. He was in my network from somewhere else. When it comes to, Mr Muni, for example, this business, 2 of my first clients were people within my network that needed the services that I had to offer. They needed the leadership training. They wanted to take their business to the next level. They wanted to scale their business. So then, therefore, they hired me. So it's the same thing. The people that are watching this and they're thinking to start, first take the first step. Second of all you need to do is is one step ahead of your person that you want to serve. And number 3, look in your network. Make a list of people that you can serve. That you can provide a solution to. What I want to do as well now is I want to take, because we've got a lot of business stuff to discuss, and most of our podcast will be around business. But as a Muslim,
yes, sir,
I want to ask you, what was it like growing up in the West as a Muslim?
That's a very interesting question, and the way I'm going to answer that is with a comment that my uncle made. So my uncle, he lives in Libya. But way back in the early 2000s, he came visit us, and I remember him saying, we were talking. I remember him commenting to me. He's like, you know what, Abdurrahman? He's like, I feel like my level of faith and iman is higher here in Canada than it is in Libya, right? And I was like, that's crazy. I was like, why? But then later on in life, as I continued to grow, I learned, right? And again, when I went to visit Libya, I also experienced this as well. Now, Libya is like 99.9999% Muslim, if not 100%, right? Like it's very Muslim. So for me, I'm like, yeah, if you're surrounded by Muslims and mosques and all this, I was like, my natural inclination is that you would feel a deeper connection there. But I think it's one of those things where because in a Western country like Canada or the United States or the UK or Australia, right, you're the odd one out as a Muslim, right? You're a minority, and because of that, you're a lot more cognizant and aware of yourself and your surroundings and how it's different, right? You're at work, you want to pray. It's not as, in Libya, you just cross the street to a mosque and there's a bunch of people praying. You pray, you go back to work, right? Here it's not the same, right? You have to figure out a room, you need to figure out a place to, make wudu, right? Make your ablution. It's different. You're a lot more cognizant of it, right? So I'm very grateful for having grown up here in the West, to be very honest. I know there's always different opinions. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I never want to raise my kids here. I want to keep, I want my kids in a Muslim country. Varying opinions. For me personally, growing up in the West, it comes with its challenges for sure, right? When you're the minority and there's a lot of, things around you that are not in accordance with the way you practice, your faith, it can be difficult, right? But in that challenge, you also grow stronger conviction within yourself, within your faith, in God. You become a lot stronger in that because you're a lot more cognizant. For me, honestly, I'm very what's the word I'm looking for here? I've been very fortunate. I don't know if that's the right word, but I've been very fortunate that I had a good upbringing. Like I didn't face a lot of racism, right? I didn't face, there are Muslims every day that face this type of stuff in the West. I've been very fortunate that I haven't come into contact with a lot of that. Sometimes, yes, but it hasn't been a very big thing in my life that's affected me, right? But I know a lot of people who have had this be more of a regular occurrence. So I was very fortunate that I didn't have to experience that. And I've always been blessed that I've connected well with people. I was never an outgoing personality, by the way. Before, I used to be the shy kid, Yeah, I used to be the shy kid. Yeah. I used to be the guy that I would hide behind my dad when my dad's trying to introduce me to his friends. And, he's like, say salam to this guy, say salam to this uncle. And I'm like hiding behind him. But then, alhamdulillah, that too changed once I started going to high school and joining clubs and getting, to know people. But yeah, so, long story short, growing up with the West has been good, right? It's with a good system, good healthcare system, good education system, safety. Alhamdulillah, over the years, the Muslim community here has really grown. So, and I've always been involved. I've always been involved and surrounded by my Muslim community. So that definitely really helped shield me, if you will, from going down a different path. When I'm continuously surrounded and giving back in the community work, that kept me on the straight and narrow. Alhamdulillah. So it's been good. Honestly, it's been good. Everybody's experience is different, but for me personally, I've had a good experience here. I see myself, living here for the rest of my life. Allahu a'lam. You never know where God takes you. But overall, it's been good. Overall, it's been very good for me.
Alhamdulillah, bro. That's really nice to hear. And alhamdulillah that you didn't have to encounter too many, things in life that, where racism occurred, and you and your family were under, let's say pressure or, under abuse. Alhamdulillah. So that's really good to hear. And what I wanted to find out is, did you find it, really challenging when you were in your, like, let's say adolescent years, growing up? Did you find it really challenging to commit to your prayers, or was it something that you found easy?
So growing up, I think up until high school, the way I viewed, following my faith was I'm going to do what my parents asked me to do. My parents, they pray, they read Quran, right? Like that type of stuff. But once I got into high school, that's when I joined the MSA for the first time, the Muslim Student Association. And when you're surrounded by a group of people who are working towards a goal, you become inspired to start taking this stuff seriously on your own. And that's where really things flipped for me, where now I was doing things because of me, right? And, I held different positions in the MSA, eventually became president. Like so then the realities of responsibility came into play, right? And leadership, which I know you teach a lot to the Muslim Amir, right? So that's where things really started getting serious for me. And that's where I started to really take hold of my identity as a Muslim. And I was very proud of it, right? Like, I would do events. My non-Muslim friends knew I was Muslim. They knew I was in the MSA. They would see me doing events for the Muslim Student Association. at the school, right? And it was out there. Like there was no secret. I didn't try to hide it. You know, we were doing Jum'ahs, everything, right? So I guess before high school, yes, it was like, you know what, I was more blended in with the rest of the crowd. You know, really did things in the deen when my parents asked me to. But then once high school hit, that's where I was like, okay, you know what? I will my identity
Yeah, that's really
to
interesting.
the fullest extent.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that, because I think I had a similar experience when I went to university in particular with the ISOC, the Islamic Society for University Students. And that's where it really, you know, like you said, you take things upon yourself, you're inspired by those around you. And anyone that joins these societies, so for the young viewers that we have, when you go to these things, try and join the societies, because the people that join these societies are people that are of a high level of practice within their deen. So they inspire you to be a certain thing or a certain way. You learn a lot from them, from their actions, their mannerisms. And, you know, that is really, you know, it's really powerful. And it's really nice to hear that you, you know, you reached the presidency role. That's really, you know, a big responsibility. So mashallah. A quick question just before we take it back to business. What did you aspire to be when you were younger? What was like your dream job, if you like?
Dude, that changed so much. Like you asked my wife about this. I had the weirdest interest, man. Weirdest interest. It really depended on my stage of life. Like in grade 4, right? I was into safari animals, loved like you know, the animals you'd see on the African savannah. I was so into it. I was like, you know what? One day I'm gonna be a wildlife ranger, right? You know, I don't know if you know that show is a Boomerfoo. If that if that show is ever came to, yeah. So wanted to be a wildlife ranger, and then you know, in grade 5, I fell in love with horses. I'm like, you know what? I want to be an equestrian trainer and own a stable, right? And then in grade 6, grade 7, I got into trains. I got obsessed with trains all of a sudden. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a train conductor. And then I got into cats, and I was like, you know what? One day I'm going to be a cat. The wildest things. And then high school came. I got busy and didn't really think much about that. Near the end of high school, I wanted to. I was actually kind of lost. I had no idea what I wanted to do. All my friends were going to university. I took an extra year. We call it a victory lap, right? Grade 13, if you will. That doesn't exist, but it's just like you repeat a year almost, just to give yourself time to think. And at that time, I actually wanted to be a pilot. I was very, very obsessed about becoming a pilot. But subhanAllah, it's not something Allah willed for me, right? And yeah, from there, after that first semester, like I told you early on, in this podcast, right? You know, it took my first dip into the business world, and have been addicted ever since.
Alhamdulillah. Funny you mentioned.
So I wanted to be everything.
That's good. MashaAllah, you had a lot of stuff relating and, you know, around the animal care or the you know, animal space, MashaAllah. So
I love animals, man.
yeah,
I love animals.
Do you own do you own any pets at the moment?
Yeah, 2 cats. 2 cats.
Very good, very good. But yeah, I wanted to be a pilot as well, actually, growing up. And one of my dad's friends was a pilot, a trainee pilot. So he took me up when I was about 10 years old. So he took me up in a 2-seat plane, small plane, and you know, we flew the plane together and stuff. But then he told me that I needed to really be good at really, you know, the physics and the sciences to kind of make it into the pilot industry and become, you know, a pilot. At that point, I was like, yeah, it's not for me. I'm not good at science. Rather than me doing the opposite and working really hard to get good at science because I was so young, I was like, nah, it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah,
cool.
forget it. It's not for me. You know, interesting fact about me. I was so obsessed that I actually flew a plane before I ever drove a car.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I've done the same thing, right? So I flew a plane when I was like 10.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe about
12. There you go.
So
you can get your license at 16. Yeah.
There you go. That's fantastic.
It's wild.
Well, there we go. We share some mutual experiences. Not everybody can say they flew a plane at a young age.
Let's get it going, man.
Fantastic.
There we go, man. Let's get it going.
Cool. So we touched on this already, I guess, slightly, because you said it's a success story you always refer to. But what I want to know is like, what's been your biggest achievement in business? Like, what's your biggest achievement?
This is gonna sound corny, okay? The person that I've become, right? Like that.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't say there was any, because for me, it's, I dabbled in a lot of different businesses. I wouldn't say any of them are successful to the extent that I want them to be, right? So I won't say that. But the person that I've become through that journey, I would have never known I would become this guy. Like, you asked me in high school that, hey, you're gonna become this version of Abdurrahman Muni. Would have never thought that, right? That person that I became, I'm like, man, subhanAllah, the amount of things that could have gone wrong in my development as a human being, where I could have gone, the places I could have been, like, and the fact that I'm here now, I'm very blessed. Like, this is incredible. Like, that self-development, the future version of yourself, you owe it to that person to do your very best now and grow towards that person. And I'm not where, like, there's still more to grow, but I'm so thankful and grateful for who I've become, right? And that development, I think, has been the biggest success, right? It starts with you, right? You have to become that person for the success to come afterwards. But I'd say that's been the biggest achievement for me so far. It's just, I've been really focused on becoming that best version of myself, so that, you don't want to be a candle where you light the way for others and you burn yourself out, right? So, become the best version of myself so that I'm better equipped to be able to help other people.
Well, mashallah, that's such a powerful answer. I'm blown away, to be honest. I didn't expect that to be the answer. That's such an amazing way of thinking, to be honest with you. Because it's true, who you have to become along the journey, and like you said, you still got, you're inshallah, you will reach all the levels you desire and success. May Allah bless you.
I mean,
it's very true.
I mean,
it's really important that, who we become on the way. And for example, I can relate this to myself. Like, when I had a few businesses before, I never really applied myself 100%, to the businesses. There was always something that I could have done more or better, or but where I'm at now, for example, in terms of my application, my state of mind, what I'm trying to achieve, having a clear vision and a purpose, it's like you said, that is actually a big achievement within business, because if it wasn't through all my experiences in my previous businesses, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm really happy that you said that, because that is something that is very deep and very, very important. Now, I want to ask, what has been your biggest learning lesson? Like, what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned through being an entrepreneur or in business?
So actually, I learned this from when I was in real estate. I learned this from my business partner there. His name's Ibrahim. This is probably one of the most profound lessons I've learned in my life, which is that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when I really understood that, it was a big shocker for me. Because here's the thing: when you fully understand it and you commit yourself to that, you see a lot of scary things about yourself, right? Because if you think about it, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I started to assess that. I was like, whoa, what? Right? It was just, it took me by surprise, because you start to introspect on every aspect of your life. Literally, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And I started looking at it. It's like, okay, you know what? Let's see. I'm struggling in this area of my life. How is my sleep? Oh, you know what? My sleep is actually not that good. How's my exercise? Oh, I'm not really keeping up with that. My diet's not really that good. I'm not keeping up with the people I should be keeping up with and checking in on them, right? So you start to see a pattern. It's like, wow, I'm not doing well in this life. This is not an isolated issue. This is connected to so many other things in my life, right? So, and we have this concept that you do things with fun, with ihsan, right? That you do things with the best of your ability. And when you do that with every aspect so when people are like, you know what, I'm just going to be focusing on work, I don't have time to work out or sleep properly or eat properly. I was that guy before, right? And that shows up in your work. That will show up in your work. If you're not taking care of your personal health, if you're not taking care of your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, if you're not taking care of your relationships with your family and your friends, right? That's going to show up in your work. You can't be committed just to one thing and with the exclusion of everything else. Everything is connected. So that was the most powerful lesson. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Because anytime I get to a point like, you know what, things are not going the way I want to, I reflect back. It's like, okay, you know what? There's all these areas I need to work with. And I think the biggest one is that relationship we have with God, the relationship we have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. And this was the number one life advice I got from my father. He would always teach me was that, he's like, take care of what God asks you to take care of, and he'll take care of everything you're asking him to take care of. Right. So check that relationship. That's the first thing to check, right? If that's good, if that's sound, you'll see everything else work out okay.
SubhanAllah, bro. That's very, very deep as well. That's very true. And it's also something that I've been trying to apply in my life, which is just the little things. How you do those little things is literally how you are going to do. How you do the big things, the little things. It correlates. It's it's parallel. So, and it's something that we still we're still trying to learn. We're still trying to improve on. We're still trying to grow within this this field. And as a matter of fact, and this is where your habits come into it, your mindset comes into it. And we're not perfect. We're human. We make mistakes, and it's something that inshallah over time, it's never something that I think we will master. I think there's always going to be up and down days. Some days you will master it, and everything on that day will go exactly how with 100% effort, 100% application, 100% input, 100% output with what you want. But there's going to be days where it's it's a bit challenging, difficult. But if you aspire to be at that level every time, then you will truly see the fruits of this, inshallah. So, bro, I got an interesting question for you now.
Here we go.
What's one advice you would give to a 20-year-old Muni?
What kind of advice would I give to 20-year-old Muni?
If you give one tip, what would it be? One advice.
Yeah. There's a lot. You learn a lot. And you wish you knew what you learned before, right?
Right.
I think the biggest one I'd give to 20-year-old Muni, is to say no more often.
Is to
say no, because 20-year-old Muni was a yes man. Muni said yes to everything, right? He would, anything anybody needed for anything, he would say yes. And 20-year-old Muni was spread extremely thin, right? And this is at that point in my life, that's when I first started experiencing significant burnout. And I'm 20 years old. What kind of burnout should a 20-year-old be facing, right? But because I was spreading myself way too thin, I kept saying yes to everything. And my family was telling me this too, like, you're saying yes to everything, take care of yourself, right? And it comes back again to that analogy, right? Don't be a candle that way for others, but then it burns itself out. I was being a candle, right? So I would tell myself, say no more often. And this is not to be selfish. I guess it is. You have to be, if you keep saying yes to everything, right? You're first of all, you're harming yourself. Secondly, the people that you're helping, you're also not doing it justice, because you're saying yes to everybody. There's no possible way you can give everybody your best effort. There's no possible way. Human energy and whatever is limited and finite. So saying no was a very important skill I learned that's been working wonders, because you respect yourself, you respect your development, you ensure that the things that are priorities in your life get the time and energy that you need, right? Which is, your deen, your family, your health, and people start to value, you more, right? Like people don't take advantage of you anymore. They say, okay, you know what? This guy takes care of his time. This guy takes, he's protective of his time. So if I'm going to go to him, I'm going to go to him with something serious or something big, right? And alhamdulillah, honestly, it's better for everybody. Now, you don't want to get too restrictive and be stingy, right? You still want to be able to give back and support, but be more selective. This probably the biggest thing I would have said to my 20-year-old self.
Okay, that's very interesting to say that, actually, because I completely agree. We especially when you're younger, you're not aware of these things. So that's a great tip, and it's actually something that I put down as one of my goals last year and this year is say no more often. You know, people
Yeah.
want to meet up, people want to do things, and you want to do things. You know, you, especially me, like, I'm quite social. I was very social butterfly, so trying to amend myself to become somebody who just utilizes my time better, who I see, you know, what I do, and you know, there's certain friends that I would love to see more, but unfortunately, I have responsibilities, I have commitments, I have certain habits I want to stick to. You know, so it makes it a little bit more challenging. But the minute you start to say no more, you actually realize your self-respect goes up, your self-worth goes up,
Yes,
and
sir.
this has like an amazing knock-on effect for yourself, your mindset, your life, the way that everything will go, because you start to being, like you said, you start being very selective with where you invest your energy, where you invest,
Yes.
who has access to your energy. You know, humans, um, we're like a battery, right? We need to be charged. We get either charged up positively or negatively. So someone who drains your energy, they're going to drain the energy you have from your battery, which is you. Someone that gives you positive vibes, they charge you up. They make you more excited. They make you more motivated.
Yeah.
Things in life. So it's very important where you invest your time, and learning to say no is definitely something that is very important. Okay, so that's from a sort of like a life perspective to 20-year-old Muni. However, for our viewers that are business orientated, what is the one business tip you would give, or that you have that is super important for you and for us, the viewers, to learn from
Man, this one's so easy, which is don't try to do it perfectly. Just don't try to get it right. Right? Just actually just do it. Like and here's, I'm not saying anything new. You say this, everybody who's been in business just says just do it. And like I it's humble. Sometimes you have to learn things by just going through it. And even though I knew that advice when I was 20 years old, people were like, Mooney, just do it. Just do something. Don't try to get it perfect. I still tried to get it perfect. I was like, oh, I want a nice looking logo. Let's make this look good. I want a nice like none of that matters. None of that stuff matters when it comes to creating your business at all, right? And it's really about do things that are unscalable. There's like a lot of people try to get their business perfect. They're thinking about, hey, I need to make my business super efficient when they're just starting out. It's like those are problems that you don't need to worry about until you're making $100,000, $500,000. That's when you focus on efficiency and operationalization and all that. At the beginning, just do it. Don't worry if it's if you're doing things manually. It's you do things that are unscalable at the beginning, right? Once you finally start getting some traction and growing, then you can focus on tweaking and making it more perfect and better. But at the beginning, don't. All right, just do it. Just literally go in. You don't need to know everything. Learn as you go. It's the journey, right? Learn, do, implement. It's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna make mistakes. You have to make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you're doing something completely wrong. But just do it, man. Like seriously, like I can't emphasize that enough. Just do it. Do not do it perfectly. And there's a quote. I forget who said it, but basically, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing sloppy.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I honestly completely agree. Just and it's ironic because growing up, for example, I used to always wear Nike a lot, and I used to have all these T-shirts that would have just do it written on it. So that would have
Yeah.
a knock-on effect on your subconscious.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yeah.
and I honestly agree. I mean, 85% of the time that I've gone and started business or done something, I've just taken the first step, not thought too much about it, and then figured out the hows and the whats and the whys later.
Yeah.
And
Really.
that's because I didn't have the guidance. Right now, for example, if I was to guide someone, I would say take the first step, but just identify your why first. Why you want to do this? What are you passionate about? And just go and do it. And just the fact that you're looking for that why is the first step anyway. Don't overthink it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. 100%, man.
Go, just like you said, that your success story at the start, which is you didn't know what business you wanted to go into. You just knew you wanted to do a business, and you started looking at different things, different avenues, different. I'm still experimenting. I've experimented many things. I've done events. I've done football. I've done online. I've done different businesses, and I'm still finding out about the business world. I'm still learning, and there's no harm in that. So just take the first step, start learning, and inshallah, you guys that are watching this, you can start growing your success journeys in your business.
100%, man.
Cool. So I'm gonna ask you. We just got this one. I'm gonna ask you is gonna. Inshallah, you can share with us what your biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in your business life, or still over.
That's
There's a challenge that you're still over.
Yeah. I remember this very vividly, actually. So this was quick. So for me, end of 20, so it's near the end of 2018. It was I was reaching. I basically reached the breaking point, right? So I'd been operating one of my businesses for a few years, and there was a lot of it was a very tough time for me, right? Financially was very tough, right? Like I was Ubering on the side to stay afloat and pay the bills, right? Like so, take this in my schedule, pray Fajr, Salt al-Fajr, Uber from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on my business, and then from 9 a.m. to midnight, Uber, and then sleep, and then repeat, right? Like 6 days a week. And when you're working like I reached the breaking point on every front, right? I wasn't sleeping properly, so I was in massive sleep deprivation. And as a result of that, I wasn't taking care of my health, was not going to the gym, was not eating properly, was not sleeping properly, was not seeing my family, right? This is before I was married. So at the time, like my mom would be like, what is this, a hotel? Like you just come, you eat, you sleep, and we don't see you the whole day, right? So it was, and then obviously all that takes a toll on your deen and your spirituality, and then emotionally. And I remember this one day vividly, me and my business partner at the time, right? We were about to actually, it was night. We were about to actually pray. I think it was Salat al-Maghrib. It was like November 2018. We were praying. So I make wudu. I go into one of the rooms that we're going to pray in, and then he comes back, and like before he comes back, like I start looking at myself, and like I'm shaking, and I start breathing very heavily, right? And I'm like, what's going on? And that's when I realized I'm having my first panic attack, right? And so it was so funny actually too. The panic attacks are not funny, but what was funny was that my business partner came in and he saw me from the back, and I was like this, shaking, and he thought I was making dua, right? But I was having a full-on panic attack.
That's actually funny.
Yeah, it's funny. But he's like, I turned around, I was like, bro, I don't know what's going on. He's like, okay, dude, take it easy, take a seat, I'll get you some water, let's talk this over, right? And that's when I knew, like, that's when we both knew that, you know what, I think it's time that Muni, takes care of himself, right? So this was the biggest challenge I overcame, because, bro, like that was the bottom of the bottom, like financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I was in the worst physical state of my life, was not seeing my family much, was in the worst financial position of my life, right? Like it was just all around, it was just, alhamdulillah, I was alive, roof over my head. But as the prophet says, if you have food in your belly, a place to sleep, and roof over your head, you have everything, right? But comparatively speaking, within Canada, like it was a very rough state for me personally. And alhamdulillah, I climbed out of that, right? So, I closed things up on my end with the business over the course of the month. So ended December 2018, then I exited my business, and then that's where I told you about the whole job hunt, and the CEO of one of our previous customers reached out and all that. That's when that happened, and alhamdulillah, things all turned up from there. Right? Alhamdulillah, I got a job, stabilized my finances, got married, started seeing my family more and all that. So honestly, I told myself that I would never get back to that state, right? I've come close. Even after I've gotten close to that, but that experience reminded me, is like, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself. So even if I do dip, so it's like this, like I dipped, then I climbed out of it. Even when I dip, I'm dipping, but at a higher level than before, right? So it's not as bad, And the goal is that you're going to go up and down. That's absolutely necessary, but it should be up and down in upwards direction, if that makes sense. So it shouldn't be like up and down in a straight line like this. It should be up and down in an upwards direction to the top right corner. Yeah.
Trajectory now. Bro, that's very inspiring. You managed to overcome that, and it's what I want to actually pick up on is what you just said there. Is being in business actually? People think being an entrepreneur and a business owner is like, quick get rich quick scheme, and It's fun. It's not. It's actually a lot harder than just turning up to a 9 to 5. There's so many challenges, especially at the start, or when you're still a small startup, because you're doing everything yourself. You're working crazy hours. You're not making money, or if you are making money, it's not even covering your costs. So you're in loss, and you know it's crazy because even like now, I mean, I still do evening delivery driving and stuff like that, just because you don't have that financial stability yet. As much as your business might make you, there's always you don't, because there's no security. Like, for example, there's certain quarters within business you might make loads of money, make loads of sales. You have another quarter in business and you don't make as much money, you don't make as many sales, and you still got the same costs. You still got the bills, the rent, all of the stuff that you need to pay off. So what you just said, that I can definitely relate to. Like, I remember when I had my events business, I'd be waking up in the morning, sometimes 3-4 hours just working on my business, because I would start work from 9, doing hospitality, so restaurant work. So you're doing 12-15 hour days at the restaurant as well.
Yeah.
That's like you're coming home, you're doing a couple more hours, and then boom, boom, boom. By the end of it, you just hate your business because you're like, why am I working all of this and I'm not seeing any results? But then if you don't give up and you keep going, you end up, seeing the fruits to your labor. And the
100%.
older you get as well, and the more experience you make, you get with business, you start identifying that work-life balance, and eventually, inshallah, I mean, you can still have a very successful business and do things on the side. For example, if doing a delivery driving job, sometimes not just about the money, it's about just getting out there and still networking with people and interacting with people and just doing things. Like, I know there's someone that we've got with us that does delivery driving 3 times a week. He's a 50-year-old man, very financially stable, he works, he's a manager of a dockyard and stuff, so he's making good money, and he still turns up just 3 days a week. He's like, I just it gets me out the house, I get to see people, I get you guys are now my friends. So like, for me, it's just a social network, and it's to help him mentally, because otherwise it just feels like it's work home, work home, work home. Whereas this now, yes, it's work and it pays him, but for him it's also a social, it has the social element to it, where he can come and just speak to people and see different people and get good food as well, I guess. So there's always
Food's important, man. Food's important.
Food's very important. But like you said, also, I just want people to really understand this, that you're a great example of it, I'm a great example of it, that just because you have a business and you might be working your business full time doesn't mean not to have multiple income streams. And I will share something myself that, I tried to do that. I tried to go full time with my business, and alhamdulillah, I made money. But then I also ended up not making money and needing to go back to having multiple revenue streams, because when I didn't make money, I really had to suffer. And I had to hit that breaking point where I was like, okay, enough is enough. I can't be in this position again. Because like right now, for example, I'm living on my own. Me and my wife aren't living together yet. But when I have responsibilities with wife and children, and bro, you can't hit that breaking point where now you're people that you're responsible for, that you have an amana, that they have, they're an amana upon you. You're now bringing them in with you to this stress and to this, that point of you feel like no return. So, but mashallah, that's really inspirational. And, anyone that's going into business, just be aware that, there's a saying that goes, unless you're making, twice the amount that your salary is now, just don't leave your work. I have a lot of my friends are actually full-time employees in other businesses whilst having their business on the side. It's a side hustle that's making them good income. They could go full-time with it, but for them, it's that safety net. Like, they're married, they have responsibilities. So they're like, why would I, as much money as I'm making on my side, that's great. But for me to take it full-time, I still can't commit to that, because if it goes wrong in that business, I don't have a source of income that can get me out of a sticky situation, let's say.
Well, and that's an interesting thing you mentioned too. Something like it comes down to the individual at the end of the day, right? Because there's different types of entrepreneurs, and all of them are okay. That's the thing. Like, I know there's like this hustle culture. It's like you have to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, grind, never sleep, never do this, right? Be all in, right? And for some people, sure, like I'm that kind of a person, right? I don't have that perfect, but for me, I'm an all-in kind of guy, right? Like I'm a huge risk. I'm married, living with my wife, but I still take huge risks, right? But that's just the way I operate, and it's not for everybody. And people shouldn't feel pressure to do that, right? So for somebody who has, a stable job and they have a successful side hustle, side business, great. If it works for them, it works for them, right? They're making money, they're taking care of their family, right? So it really comes down to that. But what I have learned though is that the tougher the pressure you're under, the more beautiful the diamond that comes out.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm so happy you use that
So
example because that's whenever I talk about pressure, I use that example. I say, when you put a diamond under pressure, look how beautiful it becomes. But also, it depends on the pressure, because if you have a pipe with too much pressure, the pipe will burst. So you want to identify what kind of pressure you're under and what's the end result. And going back to risk, that risk we reward, right? The higher the risk,
yes, sir.
the more reward. So for example, me taking that risk of running my own business. When I make money in my business, it's a lot more money than I would make working for somebody else. It's a lot more rewarding. Just the work that I'm doing is something that I really love to do. So, and I always say, love what you do and do what you love. It's super important to do these things because, I'm on this life for a short amount of time. I might as well spend the most of my time doing something that I really enjoy. When I wake up in the morning, I'm driven to, do the things that I'm doing. Otherwise, it's not gonna, it's not nice. You don't want to live a life where you don't feel like you have a purpose. You don't feel like you're doing what you enjoy. You don't do what you love. I don't understand people that can stay in a job for like 3-4 years where they're not happy. It doesn't make any sense. You're in control. You always have a chance and a choice, right?
Always.
So every day you wake up, there's a chance for you to go and do whatever you want to do, and you have the choice. Do I want to go to somewhere I'm not happy? Do I want to take that step and start in a business that you don't know where it's going to go? There's a lot of businesses that if you ask them, like let's say Gymshark, for example, and the owner of Gymshark started Gymshark, 5 years ago, whatever. He didn't expect to be competing with Nike and Adidas within that short amount of time. And look at his business has flown, alhamdulillah. So
yeah, I think like during COVID, they reached $1 billion valuation. It's wild.
It's amazing, and he's still like 25 or something. So it just goes to show that you don't know, and if you have a great product, people will buy it. But then this comes back down to like your sales and marketing and stuff like that, which is obviously we can train you on, but that's that comes down to you. So I'm going to ask you quickly because you've mentioned a couple of times now about mornings. So it was one of my questions I had for you. What is your current morning routine?
I don't got it down pat. I'll tell you that, right? It's I'm not gonna be the guy sitting here with like, you know what, I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning and I go and I work out for 10 hours and then I'm ready for work by 7 a.m. I'm not there yet, right? So it's again, this is part of the growth process, right? Figuring out your routine, right? Some days, okay, like pray Fajr, and then some days I'll stay awake after that, right? And I'll work out, do some morning stretching, du'as and stuff, and then get to work, right? Go for a morning walk. Other days, I don't have a routine, right? I just kind of get up, clean a little bit around the house. When we have a clean house, a clean space, your mind is more clear, right? And then I get to work. So it really depends, right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, hey, you know what? I start work every morning at 6 a.m., at 4 a.m., right? Sometimes I start work at 11, sometimes at 10 a.m., right? But that's the thing. I run my own schedule now, right? So that means I will willingly and be happy to work until midnight, right? So sometimes I'm a morning person, sometimes I'm a night owl, right? So, and here's the thing. So it's not for me. It's not just about the morning routine. For me, I always like to ask as well, what's my night routine, right? Because your night routine is just as important as your morning routine, right? And I really take my night routine very seriously. I love my night routine, right? So and my night routine varies, but it's after a full day of work, right? I'll spend some time with my wife, and then once we spent some time, we watch the show, just spend time, went out for a drive, whatever. When we come back, my night routine is to have a nice warm shower, clean up. I love making myself fresh. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when you make yourself fresh, it's like you shed the day's skin and now you're ready to go again. Round two, right? And so I have a nice warm shower, right? Get fresh. I'm at home, but I'll put on my cologne. I'll dress nice, right? Feel fresh, smell good, and I'll sit back down. I'll make a nice cup of coffee. Not a good idea to drink coffee that late, but whatever. I'll make it or tea. Sometimes I go for tea just to make sure I can sleep.
That's how I know you're definitely.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then I'll make myself a nice cup of coffee, and I'll just start my night routine. I'll get back into the work. Right, my wife's going to sleep, and alhamdulillah, I have this uninterrupted time just to focus on on some work, right? And I'm just chilling, working away, chilling. The world is asleep. And I actually get a lot of work done at night. Like that's my peak. Like sometimes I get the most amount of work done. And then I go to sleep, right? Like I do my prayers, do some stretches. I love my stretches when I wake up, before I go to sleep, do my stretches and knock out.
SubhanAllah, bro. What you just you hitting something really nice there, which is you find your productivity. Every person's different, right? And like you said, sometimes my most productive time is in the morning, but sometimes my most productive time is in the evening, and it varies. It depends. Although for example, the morning routines, I try and have a morning routine, and evening routines, I try and have an evening routine. But life happens sometimes, and you can't. As much as you try, sometimes you can't commit to them. So I like the fact that you said you're not there yet. And being honest and being open and being able to identify, that there's still a long way to go with certain routines. But also what you said there,
yeah.
I want to ask you, do you find that the morning piece, when you have an uninterrupted piece in the morning, or the uninterrupted piece in the evening when everyone's asleep, which one do you find more powerful for your productivity?
Well, here's the thing, like as Muslims, we know the early morning hours is the hours of barakah, right? That's where the blessings are at, right? So, there's definitely a lot of productivity there. Again, I haven't nailed down my morning routine to take full advantage of that, right? So what like for me now is like I get a lot of work done at night, right? So let me take it back. The productivity differs. It depends what kind of productivity. Because in the morning, if I do have a sick morning routine, it's productive holistically, right? It's like I'll wake up, get the prayers in, get my morning exercise in, right? Freshen up, and from a holistic health, I'm good. I'm on, right? At night, I feel like I'm a lot more productive when it comes to work specific, right? On the computer, getting the work done, right? So it's different types of productivity for me personally, but they both work for me. They're both hours that are uninterrupted. I don't know which one's the best one yet.
You know what I think you just said? I think you've answered the question, and that's actually explained how I probably failed to explain it, but that's a good way of explaining it. Is that in the morning it's more holistic because you do the gym, you do your prayers, you just feel good, right? You just feel good. So like when I come to work after all of that, I'm like, whoa, I'm like top of the world. When at the end of the night, what you just said is so like, it's so true, because when I come to do my work at night, especially because it's peaceful, like it's super peaceful, right? At night, dark, you've got your little lamp on, and it just feels nice,
yes, sir.
Right? And subhanAllah, it's very true what you just said, because I find myself sometimes at night, I'm coming up with the best work, and I don't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to sleep, otherwise you're not going to wake up. And sometimes I'm doing like 2-3 a.m. shifts, bro.
Bro, I can relate.
And what you just said there is very, very true. That the morning, the night are very different in terms of how you feel and what it is actually because if I was to go gym at night, after that I'm just like, I'm done, right? It's just tiring. But when you do it in the morning, it's that whole thing of feeling, excited and holistic. Cool. So I just want to, because I'm conscious of the time, I want to ask you this question, and then we're going to do a quick fire rounds. So what's one piece of advice you would like to share with our audience today? Or one piece of value, not necessarily just advice, but one piece of value, that if there's one thing you want our audience to take away from this podcast today, this is it. The Abdurrahman Muni value of today.
Yeah, man. Inshallah, I'm very excited for where your show, your podcast is going to go with Osama, and I know there's going to be a lot of people on here who will have amazing, valuable things to say. So what I'm about to say, they may also say it, right? Which is, if there is the ummah, alhamdulillah, is a very diverse ummah, right? And we have a lot of different people, a lot of different thoughts. Unfortunately, and we're starting to get better at getting out of this, right? A lot of younger people who are building their careers are, I don't want to say pushed, but they're heavily considered into certain areas in life. The whole stereotypical doctor, engineer, lawyer. Like, these are great careers. Don't get me wrong. We need these, right? But my main message today is that if there is any inclination within your heart, within your soul, that you want to pursue something entrepreneurial, that you want to start some kind of a business, right? For your future's sake, for the future version of yourself, and for the ummah in the future, please, for the love of God, take that step and act on that, right? Have a job. You don't need to go all in, right? Keep that stable job. Do what you got to do, but start something. If you have that inclination, if it's within you, just start something, and don't try to get it perfect. Like, for me, again, I did online marketing. There's millions of online marketing companies, right? But I didn't even know what it was, and we still taught ourselves how to do it in 8 months. We got clients, we made money, right? Even if there's competition, it doesn't matter. That means there's a need. There's competition out there. That means people are paying for this. There's a need for this. So just do it, because honestly, we really need more Muslim entrepreneurs, more Muslim business people out there. Really, we really do, right? And I really look forward to the day where, as an ummah, where we have the financial resources, right, to take care of ourselves, instead of having, like, donation is good, right? Like, that's within, donating and stuff and all that, it's within the deed. But I look forward to the day where we're able to, if there's a cause we need to support, if there's people that we need to help, we have the means to do so, right? So please, if you have that, I'm asking you, and the ummah is asking you, and your future self is asking you, just take that step. Even if it goes nowhere, the person you become, like I said, my biggest success is the person I've become, right? As a person, as Abdurrahman Muni, that person you'll become, whether you make it financially as a business, that is going to be extremely rewarding, and the world and yourself will thank you for it.
MashaAllah, bro. Jazakallah khair. That was absolutely inspirational.
Where's my Oscar, bro? Where's my Oscar?
It's on the way. It's on the post. So take the first step, guys. Take the first step. That is the value from Mr. Muni, and I couldn't agree more, guys. Just take that first step, please. Like he said, though, if you feel it in the heart, then take it. So I'm going to do a quick, just something fun and stuff for our audience. We're going to do a quick fire round. So 3, 2, 1. Burger or pizza?
Burgers.
100%. Socks before trousers or after when you're getting ready?
Say again?
Socks on before or after the trousers when you're getting ready?
No, socks are for second thing after boxers.
Okay, cool. We're not here to judge.
Yeah.
Do you brush teeth before or after breakfast in the morning?
Before or after?
Breakfast.
Oh, before breakfast.
Before breakfast, cool. Are you a movies guy or a series? Do you like series, shows, or movies?
Movies. Series are too much commitment.
Yeah, I thought you would say that. Do you prefer personal development and business books or novels to read?
No, personal and business books all the way.
Are you a ketchup or mayonnaise person? Ketchup or mayonnaise?
Both.
I
mix them up. I mix them together, man.
Yeah. Don't change, yeah. And would you? I mean, I know the answer to this, but would you rather be a business owner or an employee? The answer's in the pudding.
I'm not even gonna answer that question, bro. Business owner every day of the week and twice on Sundays, bro.
That's it, man. That's it, bro. Jazakallah khair for coming on. It's been amazing having you on. So if you want to plug your socials and tell people where to find you and access you, inshallah, you can do that now.
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. Sam, again, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for having me on your podcast, brother. It's again, I'm very excited to see where this, to see it grow and to see the value deliver. And again, I'm very grateful that I've had this opportunity to be able to share what I could share. Yeah, I'm super active on LinkedIn. That's where you're gonna find me. Osama knows where to find me there too. So Abdurrahman Muni on LinkedIn. Osama can link it somewhere if you guys ever want to reach out, connect, send me a message. If you want to talk about building your careers, building businesses, I'm happy to help. Just connect with me there. And if there's anything I can support on that front, I'm happy to help.
Fantastic. Jazakallah khair, bro. And I'm super grateful for you coming on the Speak Sense podcast for episode 1 with me. So Jazakallah khair for giving me your time today. And yeah, guys, inshallah, we'll see you on the next episode. Give a big round of applause for our guest today, Abdurrahman Muni. Thanks so much for being here today. And inshallah, we can have the show again. So, right, that's it from me, Osama Musa, Muslim Amir at Speak Sense. And I'll see you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.